Hey everyone, welcome to Three Beers Deep for not Sunday. I'm recording this on Sunday, late on Sunday, so I had to do it after pre-E3 stuff already happened. But Monday, June 15th, 2015, E3 has officially begun thanks to the Bethesda pre-E3 press conference. You can see a video of my reactions to Doom 4, Dishonored 2, some Elder Scrolls games I don't care about, and, of course, Fallout 4 here at youtube.com/Patrick Klepek. I'm also extracting that stuff. You might be listening to it in audio form on Inventory Management on iTunes and also at inventorymanagement.simplecast.fm. But while I'm waiting for my E3 reactions to Bethesda's press conference to render, I said, I'm going to record Three Beers Deep 2. I'm not stopping this train, so we're not talking about E3. This is all stuff that's separate from E3. And we'll have plenty of discussions happening about E3 in the days to come, the week to come. So why don't I load up your questions? You can submit questions to future Three Beers Deep at patrickklepek.tumblr.com. I also answer questions on mostly a daily basis. I try and get to that as much as I can. Doesn't happen every day, but it happens most days. So if I don't get to it some days, that's okay. Take a deep breath. I'll get back to it. With all that said, let's get to the first question. Is there a company better for video games than Nintendo? I mean, who embodies genuine fun and the feeling of Christmas morning more than that company? It was also asked by someone anonymous. So actually, I'm going to give it an E3 reaction, which is to say I was watching the Nintendo World Championships while I was getting ready for people to come over for Game of Thrones, while I was getting ready to watch some of the Bethesda stuff. And I don't normally watch a lot of tournaments and speedruns and things like that. I think it's fascinating and it's interesting, but it's not normally what I spend my time indulging in. But The Wizard was something I grew up with, and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to check out this Nintendo World Championships. And it was so much fun. When I had friends show up to watch the Game of Thrones finale, they said, "Are you already watching the finale? We heard someone screaming down the street." And that was me responding to Cosmo Wright of Chicago, Illinois. What? Even though he didn't win, he got second place. Trying to defeat one of the maniacal levels from Super Mario Maker, which now has a new name, tweaked name. And I got a little bit of that sense that I feel like people get when they scream for esports, whether they're a fan of Dota or League of Legends or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or whatever, anything that's competitive. And watching someone play Mario, a game that I understand, got that competitive spirit out in me where I was screaming and cheering and yelling, and even got my wife into it a little bit, even though she only has a smaller understanding of kind of what was going on or what was interesting about it. But nonetheless, I guess what I mean to say is I love Nintendo when their back is against the wall. I love that when this company isn't a financial hurricane in which there's money just raining down from the sky, in which the Wii U is kind of just slowly going along, in which the 3DS has been a success but hasn't been like the DS. When that company, their back is against the wall, they're inventive, they're interesting, they try new things, they drum up their fan base. And I don't think the Nintendo World Championships exists if the Wii U was the success that the Wii was. I don't think the Nintendo World Championships exist if the 3DS was as big a success as the DS was. And so you can say it's pandering, you can say that it's catering to the base, and it is all of those things. But there's something about Nintendo in which, through their nostalgia, they're also able to channel something special, something... Childlike's the wrong word, because I think that makes it seem infantile or that it's wrong to be excited by it. There's something... I don't know. There is something magical, like kind of Disney-like, and it's hard to explain into words. But watching those Nintendo World Championships, which I think for the most part were kind of boring, but it was absolutely worth it for the Super Mario Maker section, in which you had folks that were playing games that we've all played our whole lives. We have a common ground, and then watching them strut through or try to strut through these extremely difficult, wild levels in which the surprises, the twists, the turns were all things that were predicated on our collective knowledge base about how those games work and the ways they subverted it was just incredibly fun. And, you know, I think some of Nintendo's most interesting stuff has happened when they're quote-unquote failing. You know, the GameCube had some of their most interesting stuff. The Wii U has a lot of really tremendous games. Splatoon. Does Splatoon exist if the Wii U is taking off and selling tens of millions in copies? I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. Maybe it was all part of a grand plan. But it's also, I think, reasonable to suspect that Nintendo wouldn't be the company they are right now, for better or worse, if it wasn't for the financial troubles they were encountering. And so as a result, they're the kind of company they are right now. And the kind of company they are right now is really exciting and fun to watch. Next question. Anonymous said, E3 predictions, E3 announcements you want, but doubt will happen. Let's hear them. Sorry if you already did this. I don't really like doing E3 predictions. It's also because I know a lot of stuff, and so it's weird to predict things when maybe some of the things that people want me to comment on or predict are things that I might know one way or the other, whether or not they're happening. But I'll just say I'm going to be reacting to things on Twitter and on Kotaku, and I'll be doing reaction videos to all the press conferences individually on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Patrick Klepek. So look forward to that. There'll also be a new episode of Match 3 this week, my weekly gaming podcast with Gita Jackson and Sam Phillips. Sam Phillips is on vacation, but we'll be joined by a guest this week in which we'll probably do some E3 reactions. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to handle E3 as part of that podcast, but I'm sure it will come up, so stay tuned for that and my other E3 reactions throughout the week. Anonymous asks, I saw you had the Apple Watch on your Jurassic Park stream, which was me and my wife playing Lego Jurassic World, which you can see at youtube.com/Patrick Klepek. What are your thoughts on it so far? I like my Apple Watch quite a bit. It's gotten me to exercise more. It's maybe more conscious of my health or lack of health on certain days, which I've really appreciated, which is really the whole reason my wife and I got one, was because we were thinking about investing in a Fitbit or a Nike Plus or something more substantial in terms of our fitness. Running and exercise is really important to us. Eating well is really important to us. And so when Apple announced their watch, it's like, well, if I could also get phone calls and messages and interact with other things through that, maybe that's the one we want to get. And so I think for most people, the Apple Watch is going to make sense in 2 years or maybe a year from now. I'm not sure what the advancements will be so quickly. But it doesn't have its own cell service. It doesn't. It's pretty slow and sluggish. So there's a lot of downsides to it that I think when we look back on it in a couple of years, you're going to go, how did you possibly use this thing in its current form? But for what it is right now, I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm glad I bought it. Doesn't mean it's for everyone, but I'm enjoying my Apple Watch so far, and my wife is over the moon about it. So we're two happy customers, but like I said, not necessarily for everyone. Mostly because I think most people are going to want to wait a little bit longer. I'm going to make sure this is going, just because paranoid. Okay. Anonymous says, hey Patrick, I really appreciate your perspective and think you have important, well thought out ideas. Thank you. I enjoy reading your articles and listening to you on podcasts. I always assumed that others felt the same way I did and that you would have tens of thousands of views on every YouTube video, and I've been surprised by the relatively low view count on your videos. How do you feel about this? What are your plans to market yourself? What do you see your YouTube presence like in a year? So it's a really interesting question, and I'm not offended at all that, I guess not offended, because certainly he's being very nice in what he's asking. But I don't get bummed out or weirded out that my numbers are lower, especially relative to what you could pull in at Giant Bomb, because a lot of what was happening at Giant Bomb was Giant Bomb, the platform, in which you could run any stream, publish any video, and people were just excited to see what opened up on Giant Bomb today. And so the stuff I'm doing on my own, the stuff that is not connected to Kotaku, the stuff that is happening on my own Twitch, on my own YouTube, I'm building my own audience. And building your own audience is hard, takes a long time. And despite the fact that I have 20-something thousand followers on Twitter, that doesn't immediately convert to YouTube subscriptions. A lot of the people that are following me on Twitter are because when they sign up for Twitter, it just says, do you like video games? Follow this guy. And so they may not have a real connection to me. They may not be following what I'm doing on YouTube. And so in addition to that, the people that follow what I do writing-wise may not care what I have to say in video. And then the people that maybe are interested in my video maybe aren't paying attention to Twitch. And so you have all these disconnected communities, but what's been really amazing about what I've done in the last, 6 months now that I've been kind of doing things on my own, is that while my numbers are much lower, every single person is subscribing on YouTube, every single person that is subscribing on Twitch, every person that's watching on YouTube, they're coming because they care about my stuff. And so the people that are watching this video, the people that listen to my podcast, I thank you for what you do. I'm so thankful that you allow me to do what I do. And what I've enjoyed about doing this stuff on my own is that one of the problems I had at Giant Bomb was like, people would sometimes give me grief over like, well, why isn't this person on this video? Why isn't that person on that video? And there are all sorts of, things I could talk about in terms of the politics and dynamics of Giant Bomb during my 4 years there. But at the end of the day, it was kind of frustrating because I was just trying to do my best work and trying to present games that I was excited and interesting in talking about, or games that I was just there to comment on. And so what I love about the stuff I'm doing now is I'm finding my own voice, building my own audience, and I have a full-time job, so I'm not trying to make money on YouTube. I'm not trying to make money on Twitch. I'm not trying to build a revolution. Is it possible those things could build into something bigger over time? Sure. But that will happen on the side. That will happen in addition to what I'm doing. And so I'm thankful that I have Kotaku to sort of pay my bills. And I'm thankful for the folks that are watching this and my other videos and supporting me building a side business or just a side community. And we'll see where it goes. I'm not concerned about that turning into 1 million subscribers. But if 1 million people want to subscribe, please go ahead. I'll take it. Jackal XEA. Jackal ZXEA. The thing about just let me skip the combat. Why not watch Let's Plays at that point? I Let's Play games I don't want to watch all the time. Or play all the time. So he's referring to an article on Kotaku, the most recent edition of Worth Reading, in which the article I highlighted it argued that wouldn't it be nice if some games removed combat, or rather not remove combat, allow you to skip combat. If there are games that allow you to skip dialogue, allow you to skip cutscenes, why can't some games allow you to skip combat? Now, the example that was used by the author was Dragon Age Inquisition, a game that I think a lot of people play for the characters, for the story, for the dialogue, for the relationships, and that the combat is something that you just have to get through in order to get through more of to experience more of the story and the world and the characters and the relationships and the dialogue. And so you could make the argument that Dragon Age Inquisition fails to properly integrate its combat and make it an entertaining combat oriented game, or combat making that part of the experience. I think that's probably more to the point. I think the combat in Dragon Age Inquisition is not fun. I don't think it's interesting. I think they failed to merge action and RPG in a way that's satisfying, and that it was a game that if I could have, in a retrospect, picked a mode that allowed me to just play it as a visual novel, basically, and just do the conversation stuff, I probably wouldn't have been okay with that. So you could indict Dragon Age Inquisition and say that its combat is not compelling enough and they failed on that front. I think that would be true. That said, I think there are certain types of games, and BioWare games are chief among them. I think RPGs are chief among them, in which, no, you couldn't take combat out of Bloodborne and make that an interesting game, because combat is at the heart of what Bloodborne is. I don't think necessarily that combat is at the heart of most RPGs or adventure games, and there are certain types of games that could benefit from more options for more types of players as more games become available to more types of people that are interested in games. And I thought it was really interesting because all I was doing was presenting an argument, and nonetheless there was a whole brigade of people that were participatory in Gamergate. And I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but nonetheless, when I would check a lot of these people's profiles, all they talked about was Gamergate, and a lot of the discussion around Worth Reading happened under the hashtag Gamergate that people would attach to their tweets. As though, and the way the argument was presented was, oh, this is anti-gameplay, which I don't even know what that means. I don't even really know how to respond to that argument. Or the idea, there was one person, and it stuck in my head all weekend long, who said this is actively harmful to games, which I don't think you understand what those words mean, because by presenting an argument that I didn't even write, in which I was just linking to maybe have a debate over some games that might benefit from more options for more players, that's not actively harmful. That is not telling a developer you should do this. It's not telling the industry this has to happen. I can't wave a magic wand. All I do is present an idea, put it up for debate, and maybe, just maybe, someone thinks that's interesting and that goes somewhere. But I can't compel anyone to do anything. So to suggest that it's actively harmful, it means I don't think you're actively participating in the discussion or actively participating in language and actively know what you're saying. It really got under my skin. So one example in the argument that the person presented that I was highlighting said, like, Full Throttle, a point-and-click adventure game that has a couple action sequences that they allowed you to skip. Seemed to make sense that if you maybe fail a RPG boss battle enough times, hey, do you want to just go past this and see the ending or whatever? Who cares? That doesn't hurt you if you want to go through that. It doesn't hurt you if you disagree with that. I don't see the harm in offering more options. So with that, I think I'm going to bring that to a close. There were some other questions I wanted to get to, but I ended up answering a number of these longer than I expected to. So that is 3 Beers Deep for this week. I'll be doing plenty of more Q&As. I'm going to try and do some of my reactions to the press conferences live. I think that would be fun as opposed to recording these on video. So I may do them on a webcam, which would be lower quality, but I could do them on Twitch and take your questions in real time, respond in real time. Not going to be able to do that for some of them because they will take place during the day and I will still be working. Nonetheless, please let me know. Please let people know about the channel. If you want to subscribe to 3 Beers Deep, you can do it on YouTube, where you can watch the video version of it. You can do it on iTunes under Inventory Management, which is where all my audio stuff goes. You can do so at inventorymanagement.simplecast.fm, where you can stream and download the episodes. And that does it for 3 Beers Deep. Please like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want to do. I can't force you. See you guys. See you next week.